Well, I want to say I just got totally convinced about Ron Paul. Whether I think he's 100% legit or not, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just now 100% behind him because I just heard his stance on medicinal marijuana. And, one thing I may have a major beef with is a lot of times I think physicians and doctors and medical people will never stick their neck out. They're always about money. And, if Ron Paul is saying that he thinks medicinal marijuana can be beneficial, it's been proven that in some cases it looks like it works very well, and he's actually saying that in public, I'm 100% for him because I think that means he's a damn good politician and a good physician. And it's rare that you see a good physician. That's my opinion. But I also want to interject, I lived out in California for a while, and I'm actually, people can tell from my accent, I'm actually from the greater New York metropolitan area, very close to New York City. I live very close to New York City where you can look out from the hill and you would be able to see the skyline in the Empire State Building. So I was right from the metro area. That's where I'm actually from. But I lived out in California for a few years, actually in North County, north-south San Diego County, a little bit south of L.A. Now, I want to point out when Ross Perot was running for office at that time, he actually won in that county in Southern California. He actually won the election in that county. He got the most popular votes. And, that tells you about people, the way they think in the West and sometimes in the Midwest versus, I don't know, the established Northeast. I kind of get fed up with the attitude, but not totally. Not totally. I usually find, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll stick up for my own kind, but, I usually find the Italian Americans in the Northeast are actually the ones that are actually against the establishment more than anything. Believe it or not. Supposed, the ones they always associate with they throw that term around, mafia left and right. It's a bunch of BS Hollywood garbage. Actually, the ones you'll find in the Northeast that are more against the established order and just act on their own according to the way the big things are best for real people are Italian Americans. But that's one reason I like the Northeast. But I like the attitude that you'll find in the western states and a lot of times in California, although it's getting major screwed up with regulation and high cost of taxes and living and all this other garbage. It needs to go back the way it was in the 1960s when it was free. And I swear to God, it burns me up because I think they're screwing up a great state. But anyway, not from California, but kind of liked it in a way, except they're screwing it up. But I want to play this thing about Ron. I'm sorry I got off on that because that burns me up because I think California could be a super great place if they turned it back the way it was in the 1960s. Free, completely free living. In other words, not socialistic free, but free from encroachment from bullshit. But here, I just want to place this little clip from Ron Paul because this proves to me, you know what? If you got to pick a guy to, and you got to vote, he's definitely got my vote now. And I was highly critical of him, but like I stated, this alone is enough to sway me 100%.
I would absolutely never use the federal government to enforce a law against anybody using marijuana. There's a couple of reasons for that. We talk about medical marijuana, and as a physician, it's controversial in conventional medicine. I happen to believe that it's probably very, very helpful, and I'll bet you there's a few testimonials for that. But even in the legislative sense, in the political sense, the federal government doesn't have this authority. I mean, if a state especially comes in and says that you can use it, like some of these states have, then for the federal government to come in and say that we are going to override the state law, even if it's just a modest legalization, and override this law, that's an offense, just on the issue of states' rights. But how can people do this? How can an individual talk to you like that and say, well, I'm a compassionate conservative. I want you to suffer. That's what they're saying. It's outrageous. And they don't know the history. How long has this war on drugs been going on? Essentially since the early 70s. The first marijuana laws were passed in 1938, and they knew they weren't allowed to outlaw it, so they passed a huge tax on marijuana. And even the war on drugs total war on drugs is rather recent. You know, think of all the respect that they had for the Constitution in, I guess, 1919 when they wrote a prohibition.
Well, anyway, that's actually from ronpaul.com, and I don't know if I'm violating any kind of copyright here. I hope I'm not, but I think the message was very, very important because that's one aspect of him, because I have the greatest disrespect for established medical type professionals and physicians in general. But for him to come out and state this as a physician, he's a good guy. He's got a heart of gold. He is good to go. So, you know, to me, I'm definitely 100% behind him right now. That was enough to convince me. And, you know, you really got no choice. But like I stated, in North County, well, San Diego County, actually, I call it North County, California, Ross Perot actually won the election. Why? Because people actually thought for themselves and didn't take the establishment-endorsed Democratic and Republican candidates, and they just threw them out the window, and they decided they want Ross Perot. Now, I know you might say I don't like Ross Perot, but the thing is, that's people thinking independently. I'm voting for Ron Paul. There's no doubt about it. And I just want to point out, people were thinking like they are in San Diego County, California, throughout the nation. You'd be upsetting the entire established system all the way. So I urge people in the Northeast and things like that, and more of the established centers in the United States where the big money is, to just throw out the two-party system, go for Ron Paul, because, you know, I'm not sure about this gold is money and all this garbage stuff like that. But, yeah, I agree with that statement. But I'm not 100% sure even about Ron Paul all the way. I'm very suspicious about anybody. But him as a physician stating this, that took some balls. That took some balls, because he just said what 99.999% of physicians would never say in public. That took something right there. That was good to go, so he's got my vote all the way.